I perceive out of this is that they're looking for a few things like the fellow or the participant should actually
Mm-hmm.
be really passionate about technology. You may not have that level of knowledge or coding
Mm-hmm.
proficiency, but you must be passionate about the technology that you're working for.
Preview.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the another podcast episode. I'm Summer, your host, and today we with us one and only Pragati Verma. So hi Pragati, how are you doing there?
Hi, Summer, and hi, everyone who's listening to us. And I'm good. Hope everyone is doing good out there.
So first of all, a big congratulations for selection in the Major League Hacking's fellowship program. But before we discuss about this fellowship program, would you like to introduce yourself to all our listeners and our viewers?
Yep, sure, Summer. So, hi, everyone. I'm Pragati, and I'm a full stack web developer, and I'm also a developer students club lead at my campus. I'm currently pursuing my third year of BTech, and I'm studying computer science and engineering right now. And I'm really enthusiastic about these web development techniques, and I keep learning more and more about them. I'm really enthusiastic about open source and have been a contributor to organizations like Forsacia, Circuitverse, etc. I've also mentored a few of them, and now I'm an MLH fellow and contributing to React Native.
Okay, that's great. So, Pragati, I want to know, would you like to tell us about your developer journey and how it's been like? Because I'm very much curious to know when did you start coding?
Okay, sure. So, I actually was really enthusiastic about computer science since I was in school. I really liked this all HTML, CSS, and stuff that we were taught in the school itself. We used to make these simple web pages using HTML, CSS, and I was really fascinated as a kid that this HTML, CSS actually is the base of all the websites that we see on the internet. So, I was always curious at that point, but I really started working seriously on this front in my first year of college. I came to know that we have these different student clubs and societies that actually help the students learn and build projects using these technologies. So that was the time when I started learning more. So I started by learning some CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, Bulma, etc., and then eventually moved on to learning JS. And then there was a point that I realized that I wanted to make some full-fledged websites that could have both backend and frontend. So I started learning Django at that point, and thus I became a full stack web developer. Then I came to know about the world of open source. So I started contributing, and eventually I mentored a few open source programs as well. And yep, so this year I came to know about MLH Fellowship. So I was really interested in this program because these are all very big projects that MLH has brought up. So I always wanted to contribute to this, but out of the program, it is really difficult to contribute in such large code bases, and MLHI provides some guidance. So that's why I decided to apply to this. I was rejected in the first batch, but got selected in the second chance. So this has been the journey till now.
Okay, that's very inspirational. So, as you tell that you are very fascinated about open source, so and you are involved in lots of programs such as Summer of Code as well as Google Code in Mentor.
Yeah.
So, I want to know why students should contribute in open source world. What is the need?
Yeah, I think that open source is the best way to learn and practice your skills. The open source community is so large, and they have people from all, all different backgrounds.
Okay.
You can find even developers with most advanced skills, and even the people who have made these certain technologies that you might be using in making your projects. So
Okay.
it's the perfect platform where you can get feedback without actually going through much struggle that you go in the real world.
And Pragati, would you like to tell about what is open source to all our listeners? Basically, what is the meaning of open source?
Okay, so open source is mainly free and open software, which means that these large companies which have their products, and they basically open their code base that is publicized and visible to everyone. Anyone who
Okay.
is wishing to add some feature, or any if anyone finds any bug, they can actually come and fix and give suggestions and get feedback from the community itself. So it's like taking software development to a collaborative platform. So this is basically my view of what open source does. The practical definition that we get on Google is really broad, but this is
Yeah,
basically what is open source. You
agree.
actually build by collaborating with people, communicating with people.
Yep. Community is very important in thing, and the best thing is you will get a real world software development experience.
Yeah.
That's it. So, my next question is how a beginner should start their contribution in open source projects, because as we enter in our college, we are learning some new technical skills, such as, for example, web development or coding. So, how a student should start a contribution in open source world?
Okay, so the first and the very crucial step would be, learning how Git and GitHub works. That is the
Yeah,
very basic
agree.
thing. Whether you are a developer or a competitive coder, or whatever you're doing in the field of computer science, I guess this is a must to know how Git and GitHub works, because that is very crucial to the world of open source, as well as keeping record of your work in itself. So I guess this would be my first and primary advice to all the beginners out there, to first focus on building some Git and GitHub skills. Once you're confident about that, like how the basic workflow goes in GitHub, then you can start and start looking for some beginner friendly issues on different open source projects. You can find many there is a whole bunch of projects available on GitHub, ranging
Yep.
from very beginner level projects to very advanced projects. So you can
Mm-hmm.
always find some issues that you'll be able to contribute to. So,
Agree.
yep.
And basically, GitHub is also like a portfolio where you can show your projects to all the technical members. So I think everyone should know about GitHub, how GitHub works. Yep.
Yeah, as GitHub is already, focusing on adding more and more features so that
Yeah.
it can be presented in the form of portfolio, as you might
Hmm.
have noticed that README section,
Yeah,
in the
I really
personal.
love that part.
I have
Eh,
started using my GitHub as my portfolio in most of the cases. I don't
okay.
actually have a portfolio website, so GitHub does the work for me. You have those
Yeah.
print projects, those are your best projects. Then you
Yeah.
have that README section where you can write almost everything about you. So it
Hmm.
does all this stuff.
As we see, there are so many open source programs such as Google Summer of Code, Girl Script Summer of Code, and Outreachy, Hacktoberfest, which are really help students to contribute in some open source projects. And one of them is also a Major League Hacking Fellowship program, which is started in this year. So, Pragati, would you like to tell what is MLH Fellowship program and what is the motive behind that program?
Okay. So MLH Fellowship is it is a little different from other open source programs in general. Like MLH
Okay.
Fellowship actually started with the motive to provide employment opportunities to the people who may have lost their jobs or
Yeah.
internships due to this coronavirus pandemic. in actual.
Great.
So this is basically a 12 weeks internship program. They refer it as an open source internship program. So MLH has collaborated with these big open source organizations such as Facebook and Dev.to, etc. And they have uh, collaborated with the maintainers actually, and they are also providing guidance to the fellows who will be selected, so that you are contributing to these large code bases, and
Okay.
meanwhile you're also learning how to contribute. So, as I'm going to contribute to the React Native code base, so
Okay.
I can seek help from my teammates. Like in MLH Fellowship, people usually work in pods. A pod is
Mhm.
basically a team of some 9 to 10 members. Those 9 to
Okay.
10 members could be the MLH fellows. Then there is one mentor for each pod. So
Okay.
you can either choose to contribute solely to uh, a certain issue, or you can actually make pairs or work in teams. So this
Okay.
is like MLH is aiming to provide a collaborative environment where you actually collaborate with people from your pod or from other pods. Then there is also a mentor to guide you, and then you're also in contact with the maintainers of that certain code base. So you
Okay.
have all the guidance here, and then you're contributing to these big projects, which get added to your portfolio and resume. So they are eventually making you more employable by helping you contribute in open source.
Okay, that's great. And my question is, as we compare to GSOC, where we have to submit a proposal and work on that particular project, but in MLH, what is the procedure for the projects? Do we work on that particular project which they have assigned, or we have to select from that projects
Okay,
in the
so
MLH?
first of all, this time MLH has actually divided this whole MLH fellowship program into three parts. One
Okay.
is Explorer track, second is
Okay.
Open Source track, and the third one is Externship track. So in
Okay.
Explorer track, if you choose Explorer track while applying, so you get to work on some personal projects or some startup level projects basically along with your team. Then the
Okay.
second one, the open source track, then you get to contribute to these big open source projects like React, React
Okay.
Native, Jest, etc.
Okay.
Then the third one, externship, that is, I guess, currently not available in India for the Indian fellows, but it
Okay.
is reserved for American fellows right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in this, MLH has actually partnered with many government organizations there in USA, and you will
Okay.
be basically working as an intern to those organizations, and MLH will be paying you the money for that, and there
Okay.
will also be a mentor for that. So these are the three tracks which you need to choose while applying. So MLH depends on a certain online form application. You don't need to write any proposal or anything. The
Okay.
most of the questions in this application are basically, MCQ type or short answer questions. You just need to choose
Mm-hmm.
like how much experience do you have in coding, or how many
Mm-hmm.
languages do you know, what are those languages. There are just
Okay.
these are just basic questions. Those are asked in the application. There are only two short answer questions actually in the application.
Okay.
One, as far as I remember, is like, what is the thing that you learned in the past month and you would like to teach to your pod members if you get
Okay.
selected. And the other one is that you need to submit a sample code that you think is a representative of your coding abilities.
Okay. In
So
the in the sense of project, a GitHub link, or we have to give any project link which you have done.
you can actually provide links there and a little bit of description, like what you have tried to implement in that code sample.
So could you like to elaborate about your project which you have submitted during your form?
Yeah, sure. So The project that I included in my application form was basically it was my SIH project. So
Okay.
it was basically a job portal that was mainly focused on taking all the government job procedure here in India online.
I've also read that Medium article. So it's Afsar, I think, na?
Yeah, it is
Yep.
called AVSAR, which means
Yeah, that's
opportunity.
okay. Cool. You can carry on.
Yep. So I actually represented that project there. I
Okay.
elaborated a little bit like what is the project about, and then
Mm-hmm.
you need to point out the thing that you find special about your code. So
Okay.
I had submitted a certain file, like I was working as a backend developer in this project, so I was
Okay.
responsible for making the APIs. Now, as we are
Okay.
discussing the job portal here, so in the
Mm-hmm.
project we had two different type of API endpoints. One that was
Mm-hmm.
specific for the employers, and one that was specific for the employees.
Okay.
So, what I wanted as a backend developer there, that the employees should not be able to access the endpoints that are meant for the employers, and vice
Okay.
versa. So,
Okay.
what hack I did was that I was implementing decorators in Python.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
before a certain endpoint is called, there is a
Mm-hmm.
small check in which the role of that user who's trying to access that endpoint gets checked. And after that,
Mm-hmm.
if if I'm an employee and that endpoint is meant for an employee, there is a certain check, and if that check results in true, then that endpoint is returned, or else I get an error that access denied. So this is the thing that I tried to explain there in the application, and I tried to bring it out that most of the people who do their side projects do not pay attention to these minute details that may matter later.
Mm-hmm.
So and this is the thing that I tried to point out there. So, you know, uh, in this way, I am trying to bring out that I pay attention to even the minute details in my code base. Then
Mm-hmm.
also, decorator functions are their use is really appreciated, because this is just a very small hack. A very
Mm-hmm.
small function, and this is saving me a lot of effort, or else there could be a lot of mess in my database. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to write what is special and what are you trying to do exactly in that answer. You don't need a very big project to present there. I
Okay.
have read Medium articles of some of the fellows who presented something as simple as a to-do list, but you
Okay.
need to explain it very well, what you are trying to do in that exact code piece that you're presenting, and the things that you learned out of it. So MLH is
Okay.
not actually seeking how advanced are your coding skills, because they are
Mm-hmm.
eventually going to help you out. They are providing you with mentors, they'll help you upskill in that certain thing. But what they
Mm-hmm.
need is that how confident you are with the code that you have written, and you
Okay.
know how good is it or how bad is it, what are the improvements that can be done. So they need
Okay.
you to be aware of the thing that you're writing.
Okay. I think it will really helpful for the fellowship aspirants regarding the projects. And congrats for the Smart India Hackathon. You have won that Smart India Hackathon, so congrats for that also.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Now we are talking about the form procedure. So I think in fellowship program there are, I think, three stages. After filling the form, you have to. There are, I think, two interviews. One is technical
Yeah.
and other one is non-technical.
Yeah,
So
actually
can you?
it goes like the first you have to submit this online form,
Okay.
which also uh, the applications are actually shortlisted based on your answers, and then
Okay.
after you are being shortlisted, you have been shortlisted, then there is a non-technical interview, which is basically meant to they mean to verify that you'll be able to communicate professionally. You have fluency in English, because that is going to be the main mode of communication in this fellowship, because this is a global program. So you have people from different cultures and backgrounds, so they need a certain fluency in English.
Yeah. Okay.
And yep,
So
this is basically like an HR interview. And then
okay.
after this interview, again a shortlisting process is there. If you get shortlisted, then you have to appear for the technical interview, where you have to talk about the code sample that you submitted in your online application.
Okay. So can you share your interview experience of both the interviews, non-technical as well as technical? What are the questions they have asked?
Okay, I actually have experience of three interviews, as I told. Like
Okay.
I applied the first time when MLH fellowship was introduced, and
Okay.
in that I was shortlisted for that first interview, and after that I was rejected. So that was the
In
first
the
experience, and then
in
this time.
technical round, you have rejected. You were rejected in the first time, na?
Yeah, so basically I was not shortlisted for technical interview that time.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So okay, so I need to share my experience of this time, because that
Yeah.
uh,
Every
contains.
listeners want to know about your interview experience.
Okay, so the interviews are really straightforward in MLH. Like it's
Okay.
a simple 10-minute conversation that you'll have uh, in this general interview. That is the first round. So in this, they basically need to know like how passionate you are for technology. They're just
Mhm.
basic HR questions like. How would you describe yourself, or why do you want
Mhm.
to be an MLH fellow? Just general questions. And
Mhm.
they also just ask you a few questions that you may have filled in your application itself, like what is the country that you'll be residing in while the fellowship is going on, then are you expecting stipend or not. Those are just very general questions. What they are trying to know out of that is that you are able to communicate properly, and you are
Mhm.
portraying professionalism by the way you are talking or not. This is just as simple as that in the first round of interview. Then a piece of advice from me would be that you must assure that you have a proper internet connection in
Mhm.
this one, because those people are expecting the entire program is actually virtual. So what they are expecting is that if you can ensure a certain good net connectivity, then you'll be able to effortlessly participate in the program. So
Mhm.
that was the reason for my rejection in the first attempt of mine. Like I did not have that good internet connection that time. So due to that, in that interview procedure, there were a few uh, problems. So that is the first thing to keep in mind while your general interview. Then the next thing would be like you must show up on time. The interviewers are really impressed by this thing, like because punctuality is really necessary. You have lots and lots of meetings when you become an MLH fellow, because everything has to be communicated virtually. So this is another thing to keep in mind. And yep, this is, I guess, all for the HR interview. Then, when we come to technical interview, as I mentioned, MLH is not looking for how advanced coding skills you have, but what they're looking for is that you know each and every bit of the code sample that you have submitted. Now, in this particular portion, MLH is quite flexible. You can change the code sample that you submitted while applying in the online application. Like you can present even that code sample, or you can just tell them that in the meanwhile you have prepared the certain other project which is better than this, and then you may start explaining what you have tried to implement in this one. Like MLH is flexible here. All they want is that you need to present a certain project that is a representative of your coding abilities. So
Okay.
they might ask you a few questions in between. Like I was asked a few questions like how to ensure security. Like if a hacker is trying to attack my API endpoints, then what will I do? What is the first thing that comes to my mind? Something as simple as that. Or sometimes they might get a little technical, like I was representing these decorator functions, so they
Okay.
can ask what are decorators in general. So
Okay.
you must be able to define it, or
Mm-hmm.
anything relevant to, as I was representing a Python code, so they may ask something relevant to Python.
Okay.
So this is all in the technical interview.
And as I know from the first cohort of the MLH fellowship program, I think out of 20,000 applicant, only 150 were selected. So my question is, what would they think the actual criteria they have been looking for selected candidates?
Okay, so what I perceive out of this is that they're looking for a few things, like the fellow or the participant should actually
Mm-hmm.
be really passionate about technology. You may not
Okay.
have that level of knowledge or coding
Mm-hmm.
proficiency, but you must be passionate about the technology that you're working for. Like if I'm working for a web development domain, then I should be aware of a few things that I'm about to use. Then another thing would be somewhat knowledge of open source in general. The
Mm-hmm.
very basic thing would be the knowledge of Git and GitHub. It is
Okay.
actually included in the application as well. Like if you have a certain knowledge of Git and GitHub, because eventually the entire program revolves around GitHub. If even if you are in the Explorer pod, you'll be making it to make projects, you have to use GitHub. So this is the least thing that they can expect from you. So you must be aware how GitHub works.
Okay.
Then you must be able how to communicate professionally, because you'll
Mhm.
be MLH provides a lot of exposure, because you are eventually going to work in a global environment where you have your pod members are from different parts of the world, from different countries. So you have to uh, know that how you should communicate to people, how you should create professional bonds with strangers, because they are particularly strangers. You should know how to talk to them, how to
Mhm.
communicate your whatever technical obstacles that you might be feeling, or anything like that. So these are few things that MLH usually seeks in their participants, and otherwise they are eventually going to help you out with things, but this is
Mhm.
the very basic that they want. You should be able to communicate properly. You should be passionate about technology, and then uh, another thing would be that you should have a certain working environment. You should have a good internet connectivity, and as
Mhm.
MLH revolves around many meetings, so you must have a space where you can sit down in a, what should I say, a silent environment where you can actually
Mhm.
talk and communicate to people.
Okay. I think it will really help to lots of members. And is there any particular prerequisite for this program? For example, do we have to complete any internship before then only we can apply, or do we have completed any open source projects? Uh, so, what is the prerequisite for this program?
There are extremely, but there is no prerequisite at all, because MLH is actually, this is not just any internship. It is
Okay.
a learning opportunity combined with a working opportunity actually. So they are eventually
Okay.
going to teach you things, help you out with things. So they don't need you to know a lot. All they require is that you must have some coding knowledge. You must be able to code in at least one programming language. That is all that they want. Other than that,
Okay.
nothing as much specific. That is, these are the very basic things that you need. You should be able to communicate, as I have repeated myself over and over here.
Yeah.
You must be able to communicate, and you must have knowledge of at least one programming language. That's all.
Okay. And now it's time for the management question. For example, you are involved in lots of activities. For example, you are a DSC lead and Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and also involved in MLH Fellowship program. So,
Yeah.
how do you manage your MLH Fellowship internship with your college study also? Can you explain your daily routine of an how an MLH fellow like?
Okay. So, MLH fellowship actually. The question is actually not very open-ended here, because
Okay.
during the application you can actually
Mm-hmm.
choose how much time do you want to devote to the fellowship. There are two
Okay.
options of either choosing full-time or part-time, as you have in normal internships.
So,
So
which
if
one you have chosen?
mine is
Which one you?
full-time, I should be devoting 30 to 40 hours per week. And then
Okay.
there is part time, which includes 10 to 20 hours per week. So you can
Okay.
actually choose out of these two depending on how much time you can actually devote. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I chose a full time internship here because I thought that open source, I mean, I thought that the classes are actually going online. So I
Okay.
will have enough time to contribute to the fellowship itself. So
Okay.
I started with this. Yeah, I started when the fellowship actually started. I started feeling a little confused, like I was not
Yeah.
able to manage time. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally able to see things falling in place. Like MLH, actually, they give you a certain slot in which you have pod meetings. Like I have
Okay.
my meetings on Monday and
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:30. So
Okay.
that time is exclusively reserved for MLH fellowship meetings. Other than that,
Mm-hmm.
I usually have my classes from 9:30 to, we have this certain timetable, so it varies from day to day. But
Yeah.
usually my classes go until 2:30 or 3:30. So 9:30
Okay.
to 3:30 I have classes, online classes for my
Mm-hmm.
university. And then after that,
Okay.
on Monday and Wednesday, I have this MLH fellowship pod meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, whatever time is left, I usually try to work on whatever issues that I have been assigned in the fellowship, or
Mm-hmm.
anything that is, that may include my side projects or anything that is relevant to DSC. So
Okay.
yep, I don't follow a very strict schedule as of, I would say. I
Mm-hmm.
actually try to prioritize things one over another, like whatever suits at that moment, whatever I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to complete at a certain moment, I try to finish it up and then move to the next task. I work
Okay.
that way actually. It
Yeah.
can get a little complicated, but the people at MLH are really helpful, and
Mm-hmm.
usually these pods and pod mentors are really helpful, and they can
Mm-hmm.
help you a lot in giving advices how to do things technically, like if you have any blockers, technically or
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, in general, relate anything related to your career. So the people there can help you a lot to organize things. So
Mm-hmm.
yep, that is the thing working for me right now.
Okay, that's great. Would you like to share your working culture in the MLH fellowship program? Means what are the activities are happening during the day for leveling up your skills?
Okay, so we have these 3 hours meetings on Mondays and Wednesday for my pod. Like it may vary for each and every pod. So
Okay.
we usually need to share some stand-up notes on the day we have our meetings. Like if I have a meeting at 3:30 on Monday, we usually shared a GitHub link. That is
Mm-hmm.
where we share those stand-up notes. These
Mhm.
stand-up notes usually include like what are the tasks that I did yesterday, the day before the
Mhm.
meeting, and what
Mhm.
are the things I'm going to do today, that is the day of the meeting. If
Mhm.
I have any blockers, any issues that I may be facing, I can write it down there. Any so that any pod member or my pod mentor or anyone at MLH can help me out there with that
Mhm.
certain issue. And then we have this certain shout out section in our stand up notes so that we can appreciate the work of our pod members or teammates or anyone at MLH actually. So this is the
Okay.
first thing that we do. Then in the meetings, we usually discuss these stand-up notes, and if anyone is having any issues, the whole
Mhm.
pod actually discusses how to solve that blocker, how to come up with a solution for that, and
Mhm.
then we actually have some group discussions sometimes,
Mhm.
which we call panel discussions. And then we have a certain section that is called retrospective, where we discuss what are the things that are going well in the fellowship, what are the things that can be improved, and what are the things that are really terrible in the red zone, actually.
Okay.
So this way, we try to focus on what is going wrong, what is going right, and how to fix the things that are going wrong. So the whole
Mhm.
pod is actually engaged in lots of discussion during these meetings.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is usually the Monday schedule. We have these discussions, and then we usually get involved in some fun activity. We play games together at the end
Okay.
of the meeting. So this is all
Mhm.
that happens on Monday, usually for my part. Then on
Mhm.
Wednesday, we have this certain portion that is called show and tell. This
Okay.
is basically that any one of the pod members, they take up some topic that may be relevant to any the members of the pod, like
Mhm.
if I choose things like how to build your LinkedIn profile, and then I have to explain things that may be relevant to the LinkedIn profile to
Mhm.
whole of the pod. And this is like what happened in school life. The teacher asks you to present a certain to prepare
Yeah.
and then present a certain topic. So this is
Mhm.
basically a representation of that any pod member, they take up a certain topic and they prepare some slides or some thing on that, and then they present it to the whole pod so that knowledge could be shared among all the pod
Okay.
members. And then we go through a discussion or a Q&A session based on that show and tell. And then again we
Mhm.
have some sometimes people who manage the fellowship program at general, like Mike Swift or Will Russell or Chris.
Mhm.
They come and join us in these meetings, and they can give feedback on anything that might be relevant to the pod. So,
Mhm.
yep. Then again, we play games, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I really love this program. Best thing is you don't learn the technical skills. Also you learn your interpersonal skills like communication skills, presentation skills.
Yeah, there's
That's great.
another thing that I actually skipped. That would be that we are required to have one-on-one meetings with most of our pod members at least once a
Okay.
week. So that is the place that you're actually, communicating to people and trying to build bonds with the people you'll be
Mm-hmm.
working with. So this is the place where soft skills really come in. So MLH is also teaching you how to communicate to people.
Yeah. And is there any diversity in your pod, for example, all they are in the same region, or you will get an experience to have any member from different countries in your
Okay,
pod?
so as far as I have heard from the MLH team, the pod
Mm-hmm.
that I'm working with is the most diverse pod of this fellowship. So
Okay,
we
that's
have
great.
people from uh, different regions of the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have two members, I guess, from Nigeria, one from Zambia, one from Serbia. Then there are three Indian people, like including me.
Mm-hmm.
Our pod mentor is from Pakistan.
So we have to select that pod, or they will assign this pod to
The
us.
pod is actually assigned from MLH side. You don't really
Okay.
choose your pod,
Okay.
but in case you're feeling any discomfort, or if you have any
Mm-hmm.
problems, then you can ask them to change your pod later.
Now I think we have wrap up this session, but before that, a final advice which you would like to give to all our upcoming fellowship aspirants. So.
Yeah, so a piece of advice would be that uh, while applying to MLH fellowship and even in the interviews, the thing that you should be presenting is that how passionate you're about technology, about open source in general, because
Mm-hmm.
MLH fellowship is not something that is very focused on your coding skills, but
Mm-hmm.
your personality at large, because they want you to work technically as well as professionally. They'll
Okay.
be guiding you in those things, but you need to represent yourself in such a way that they see potential in you. So this is something. Then while filling out that online application, what I have
Mm-hmm.
seen with some of my friends, and many people actually approached me on LinkedIn as well, is that
Okay.
they usually write very short answers in the short
Mm-hmm.
answer section. You cannot just hope that your application gets shortlisted by just writing 2 or 3 line answers there. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot actually represent yourself very well by writing 2 or 3 lines in those question in answer of those questions. So
Agree.
represent yourself well in that particular portion of that application, because that is the first thing that is get going to get you shortlisted. So you need to
Okay.
represent yourself well. Your application is like your face to anyone who's sitting out there reading your application. So treat it that way. Write good answers there. Then
Okay.
I guess in the interviews don't panic, and the interviews are really short at MLH. So try to represent yourself really well. Try to communicate as much as possible with your interviewer. You can even ask them questions like how is their experience at MLH. They can also provide you with some feedback. Even if you get selected or don't get selected, I would say that. The best thing would be to ask some feedback from your interviewer,
Okay.
so that can actually help you the next time you apply anywhere. The people at MLH are really good, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you must do according to me.
Okay. That's really helpful for all the members. So thank you, Pragati, for sharing your experience of MLH fellowship program. I believe that more and more members get an insight about how MLH fellowship program, what is MLH program is, and how it's all what they are doing. So thank you so much, Pragati, and I will put all the social media handles in the description, so all the listener make sure to connect with Pragati. So thank you for this session. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Summer, for having me here, and it was really nice to record a podcast. This is like my first time recording a podcast, so really glad I did it, and I hope that each one of you listening us might
Yeah.
find it useful and make the best out of it. So, yeah,
Yeah. I believe that in upcoming months or weeks, we will have another podcast with you. So,
yeah, sure.
okay.
I'll be always up for that.
Yeah. So, thank you so much, Pragati. Bye. Good night.
Bye bye.